You've waited for the best, and you deserve the best, and will definitely get the best. My name is George Addo Jr. Big welcome to the Joy Transfer Countdown. And we know you've been waiting so much, but definitely this is the best place to be. And I've got a best companion to be with.
My name is Gary L. Smith. George Addo Jr. forgot to, as tradition demands, say good evening. So good evening.
And you know there'll be more good evenings and close to good nights today because we get to find out what's been happening. It's been an interesting transfer window, I have to tell you. In the last hour, we've got so many deals going through. But this is a good time, Gary, to tell all our listeners how they can be part of the show.
Yes, you can get us on social media as we speak on the Joy 99.7 FM page. We are streaming live. Also on the JoyNews page, we are streaming live. You can get us on Twitter, our handles, all three of them. That's at JoyNews on TV, Joy 997 FM, and Joy Sports GH. The entire power of the Joy News machinery is coming to you. But even though there are three handles, there's one hashtag, and it is Joy Deadline Day, just like you see on your screen at the moment. At a point, we'll be introducing you to our WhatsApp line. We will open the phone lines at the moment later on in the show. However, throughout the program, you can be tweeting live and we'll read as many of your comments as possible.
It looked like a very quiet transfer window, especially for Ghanaian players. Quite a number of them have moved on transfer deadline day, and this is going to be very, very interesting as we take you through what's been happening. But Gary, it's just a good time now, though, to go to the numbers. Can we find out what's been happening, of course, today, and whether we are anywhere close to breaking a record or falling far below a record?
Right, so this is a good time for us to start the discussion with you. As we begin, let's know question one. Why do you think the January transfer windows are generally not as, vibrant as the August transfer windows? We'd like to hear from you on the hashtag Joy Deadline Day on Twitter. Let's do the numbers now. Now, last year, by this time, we were here similarly and going through the numbers. And then in August, we were here also to do the permutations and everything. Now, if you look on my screen here, I have the numbers from last August, which is the last time we brought you this show. Everything is here. Now, the clubs in the top 5 European leagues completed 1,526 deals. So all the teams in the top 5 leagues, and when I say the top 5 leagues, of course, I mean the Premier League, Serie A, Ligue 1, Bundesliga, and La Liga. Those are the top 5 leagues. The amount they had, as you can see on your screens for those watching us on television, 4.03 billion pounds. That's how much they spent. 4.03 billion pounds. That was for last summer. And if I pull the screen up like this, you can see the top 5 players who accounted for, portions of this 4.03. Kylian Mbappe was the most expensive acquisition last summer with 159.3 million pounds. He's a forward. He was moved from Monaco to Paris Saint-Germain. Cristiano Ronaldo moved from Real Madrid to Juventus for 88.5 million pounds. Kepa Arrizabalaga went from Athletic Bilbao to Chelsea, becoming the most expensive keeper in the world, 71.6 million pounds. That was just a few days after Alisson of Liverpool now came from Roma to be momentarily the most expensive keeper in the world. Alisson Becker went for 65 million pounds. To complete the top 5 is Riyad Mahrez, an African entry. He's a winger from Leicester City to Manchester City. 60 million pounds is how much he costs. So that is the breakdown. Don't forget that we are talking about the top 5 leagues now. Let's look at now the breakdown in terms of league by league. So now we go to the Premier League. How much did the Premier League add or contribute to that 4.03? It was 1.46 billion pounds. That's how much the Premier League alone contributed to this number. And then we go on to Serie A. Italy's top flight contributed 1.15 billion pounds. That was how much they contributed to that as well. And then Ligue 1, we saw 0.07 billion pounds contributed by the French top flight to that number. And then we go forward a bit to the last two leagues. Bundesliga contributed 715.2 million pounds. La Liga contributed 1.22 billion pounds. So George, you see that the Bundesliga contributed the least last summer, and they contributed only a paltry 715.2 million pounds. If you want the breakdown of who contributed in terms of the various leagues, who were the top five, I can give that to you as well. But first of all, I'm sure you want us to start the discussion with our August guests.
We've got Reiko Ampofo and Selwyn Saki in the background. Very soon you'll hear from these two gentlemen who have a great part to play. We've also got Raymond Yamado and Ellen Fiaka who have joined us in studio. We'll be doing the analysis. Gary, we've got quite a number of journalists around the world also going to be joining us, right?
Yes, indeed. He will be going to London to speak to Chelsea correspondent for Goal.com, Nizar Kinsella, momentarily, because we understand there is something happening with the Blues.
And so a very, very good night to have and enjoy with us here on the JoyNews channel on Multi TV. Joy Prime will be joining us soon, and on Joy 99.7 FM. Of course, we're going to be taking a short break. When we come back, we'll be rushing you through what has been happening in the transfer window so far, and like in the last hour. We'll take a short break. We're back after this. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're still live on the JoyNews channel on Multi TV, also live on Joy 99.7 FM. Very soon we'll go live on the Joy Prime channel, and it's great to have you joining us. Gary Al Smith is alongside me. Gary, you're feeling okay and good tonight?
Feeling okay, feeling hydrated, and we're not going to say what we ate before coming on air.
You don't need to. Well, look at their faces, of course. Raymond Yamado and Ellen Fiaka joining us in studio. We're here last year. Ellen Fiaka, how are you doing?
Hi, Raymond. Hi, Ellen.
You're looking forward to a very, pulsating, transfer deadline.
There we go. As a Chelsea fan, and he's very objective, and I love that. But tonight, there's a lot to talk about. Of course, Raymond, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, George.
Manchester United fan as well.
Well, things are looking good.
They say they won't buy. Is anybody available? Well, let's quickly now find out what the marquee signings have been for this transfer window. Moses Yagwa has got this wrap.
Chelsea have signed Borussia Dortmund forward Christian Pulisic for €64 million, but have loaned him back to the German club until the end of the season. The 20-year-old United States international, who was linked with Liverpool and Arsenal, joined Dortmund as a youth player in 2015. It is the highest transfer fee for an American player, beating the €20 million Wolfsburg paid for John Brooks in 2017. Still at Chelsea, and they have signed Argentina striker Gonzalo Higuain on loan from Juventus until the end of the season, as boss Maurizio Sarri looks to ignite his spluttering attack. Higuain will be reunited with Sarri, who managed the 31-year-old at Napoli and made him his top target in the January transfer window. After spending the first half of the season in a disappointing loan spell at AC Milan, Higuain admitted he was keen to move to Stamford Bridge. Higuain, who has been capped 75 times by his country, arrives at Chelsea to find the club struggling with a confidence crisis that threatens to wreck their season. The arrival of Higuain consolidated the departure of Spain forward Alvaro Morata to his boyhood club Atletico Madrid after sealing an 18-month loan deal. 26-year-old Morata has endured a torrid last 12 months at Stamford Bridge, having joined the Premier League club from Athletic City rivals Real Madrid in 2017, scoring 16 goals in 47 league games. He has often looked devoid of confidence in front of goal in England, losing the faith of both former Chelsea coaches Antonio Conte and current boss Maurizio Sarri. A boyhood Atletico fan, Morata spent 4 years in the club's academy before joining Getafe's youth setup in 2007 and later Real Madrid's. Paris Saint-Germain have boosted their Champions League hopes with the signing of Argentine midfielder Leandro Paredes. The 25-year-old, who had been wanted by Chelsea boss Maurizio Sarri to replace Cesc Fabregas this month, has joined from Zenit St. Petersburg in a £40 million deal. Paredes has inked a deal at the Parc des Princes until 2023 and has been handed a number 8 shirt vacated by Thiago Motta following his retirement last summer. Paredes' arrival is a huge boost to Thomas Tuchel's men ahead of the resumption of the Champions League in the coming weeks. Barcelona have confirmed the 65 million signing of Ajax midfielder Frenkie de Jong, with a deal to go through in the summer. The 21-year-old, who will cost the La Liga leaders an initial 75 million euros plus another 11 million euros in variables, has agreed a 5-year deal. Netherlands international de Jong can also play in defense. He was linked to many of Europe's top clubs, including Manchester City, Juventus, and Paris Saint-Germain. Kevin Prince Boateng has completed a dream move to Barcelona on loan for the remainder of the season. The former Tottenham and Portsmouth forward was handed the chance to make a surprise return to La Liga as Barca needed attacking cover for Luis Suarez. Boateng made Italian side Sassuolo his 9th club on a free transfer last year, and Barca have the option to sign the 31-year-old for £7.1 million in the summer. After leaving Hertha Berlin in 2007, Boateng played for Spurs and Pompey before earning a move to AC Milan in 2010. Winger Victor Moses has completed his loan move to Turkish club Fenerbahce, signing an 18-month loan deal. Moses arrived at Stamford Bridge from Wigan for £9 million in 2012 and has scored 18 goals in 128 games since joining Chelsea. The former Nigeria international has had loan spells at Liverpool, Stoke and West Ham. Middlesbrough have signed midfielder John Obi Mikel on a deal until the end of the season. The 31-year-old, who won the Champions League with Chelsea in 2012, was a free agent after leaving Chinese side Tianjin Teda last month. The Nigerian midfielder made 249 Premier League appearances for Chelsea in an 11-year spell which ended when he left Stamford Bridge 2 years ago. Bayern Munich will sign defender Benjamin Pavard from fellow German club Stuttgart in July. The 22-year-old France international will sign a 5-year deal with the Bundesliga champions. Pavard helped his country win the 2018 World Cup in Russia and scored goal of the tournament against Argentina. And Portugal defender Pepe has rejoined Porto on a 2.5-year deal, 12 years after departing for Real Madrid. The 35-year-old spent 3 seasons at the Estadio do Dragão, winning 2 league titles before a decade at Real. Pepe, who has been capped 103 times by his country, won La Liga and the Champions League 3 times, each while in Spain. He joined Turkish side Besiktas in 2017 and was a free agent after leaving in December. His return to Porto sees him reunite with former Real Madrid teammate Iker Casillas.
Transfer deadline days always will give us a lot. Moses Yeboah with that wrap. Now, time to talk about the Ghanaian transfers and what has been happening. Well, Kevin Prince Boateng's move was a bit of a surprise. I don't know what you will call this. Use any adjective you want to. Suleiman Tari has found the club. Gary, where exactly?
He is gone to the 2nd division in Spain, to a team called Albacete in Spain. He's on a 1-year deal. Let's not forget that Suleiman Tari last had a contract with Deportivo La Coruña that ended last summer in July, and he has not had a club since. So Suleiman Tari is going to the 2nd division in Spain, and he will be hoping to get some game time there. That's it for Suleiman Tari. He adds to the couple of Ghanaians who have made high-profile-ish moves. Baba Rahman has moved from Germany to France to start the REM. You know, people always get the pronunciation a bit wrong. Not REN. R-E-N-N-E-S, not that one. REM, start the REM, R-E-I-M-S. So that's where Baba Rahman is headed. Of course, he adds to the biggest transfer for Ghanaians this window was Kevin Prince Boateng, who moved from Sassuolo to FC Barcelona. Later on, when Selvin Saki joins us, he will tell us about the players who moved from the Ghana Premier League outside the shores of the country.
Interesting stuff as well. Now, just before we go for our first Skype and we're getting ready with your WhatsApp videos, let's have a word or two from our, lavishly pegged gentleman in the studio. I think I got that right, Gary. It was good. Good description, right?
Yes,
looking really cool. Yes.
Yeah.
So let me start with you, Raymond Yamado. Suleiman Tari makes this move. How important is this?
Well, I think for Suleiman Tari, I don't know if he has too much football left in him, because you know the last time we saw him on the pitch was somewhere in July when he was playing for Deportivo La Coruña, and that move, even I don't know how much he contributed to that club, because they got relegated eventually. But looking at him move to Albacete, I think Albacete themselves are on a project. They are trying to qualify to La Liga, and they are currently fit, and they are just 5 points off the top. So I think that going to that team, there's not going to be too much pressure on him. We are not going to see too much of Sule Muntari. He just needs to stay fit and keep playing football. For as long as he stays fit and keeps playing good football, the experience will definitely come to bear, and everybody will now begin to see Sule Muntari once again. But as to whether that move really is supposed to push him to a level of getting a top-notch club to play again, I doubt. But it's good for the player. If he loves football and if he wants to keep playing football, it's a good platform for him to actually relaunch his career.
Elam Fiaka, Baba Rahman is hoping to recapture the left-back position of the Black Stars. So become a regular. It's been difficult for him, such a great talent. You feel he's got the potential to come up to the level. Somehow it never really happened, and he's got an opportunity now to play at Rams.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's a very curious case for me. I mean, Mabaraman oozed with a lot of potential. I mean, I had a chance to watch him play live against Dynamo Kiev for Chelsea, arguably one of his best games for Chelsea. And then he was blowing hot and cold. Now, that anterior cruciate ligament injury, I think, was the game changer for Mabaraman. I mean, that injury completely messed him up. I mean, he went back to Schalke. They were trying to do him a favor by getting him back in. He went back to Schalke, and he didn't get any game time whatsoever. I mean, the chairman of Ream said he's expecting him to make an instant impact. It shows how much faith they have in a player of his caliber. I believe it's another chance for Baba Rahman to prove his quality. Start Reams, not your lavishly adorned team. A team that is probably mid-table in front. Is a place where he can rediscover himself, get back to the basics of football, and become the Baba Rahman we know. He's still relatively young. He still has a lot of football ahead of him. I doubt he's going to wear the blue shirts of Chelsea ever again. But it's a chance for him to resurrect that career that has threatened to blossom over the last couple of years.
I'm just trying to find out what the emphatic stress on your relatively young was. Anyway, let's keep it. Let's let it slide. I mean, Gary, it's probably time to get into find out what's happening on the other side.
There's lots of reaction instantly to that move on Sule Muntari, both on Facebook and Twitter. Let's start with Facebook. Miles Fosukwesi says that good luck, Muntari, the only dedicated player I've ever seen. No matter the magnitude of the game, Muntari puts in 100%. Big heart for the Black Stars, and that's why he is always doing well. A little bit of controversy, but as a couple of people feel that Muntari should retire, we have one, Anna Richard Peter, saying that Muntari should retire, he's too old. A barrage of people have been replying to that particular one, saying that Ghanaians are fond of retiring players just as they go after the age of 30. Razak Sadiq, Barcelona, says, all the best, my brother. Ajay Buache Augustine says that he's always lucky. Bless you, Haji Akande's sons. Behind the success of a responsible man, there's a marvelous wife, Menaya Donko. So shout out to you, Menaya, wherever you are. Nana Ganza says, the most swag-on player of Ghana, both on and off the pitch, the committed Ghanaian player to me. Let's go to Twitter now to get a couple of comments there. Royal Commander tweeting at G4GAB says that Muntari, retire already. The space you are going to occupy could have been for a young lad out there who is struggling and is almost giving up on his dream. He had a lot of people coming at him for that as well. And then Luis Minta says that this guy has been playing for a long time. It shows his longevity. Doji Kwame Avulete says that for those who say Muntari should retire right now, they should not forget that Zlatan Ibrahimovic was signed when he was 34, 35. And when European players sign at this age, we call them fine wine. But when a Ghanaian player signs, we say that they should retire. Black man, yellow sense.
Well, Gary, I think it's a good time now to get onto Skype. We can do that, and we'll be opening up Arsenal discussion. So for the Arsenal fans who sent us the WhatsApp videos, we'll be getting onto that pretty shortly.
But first Chelsea, right?
That's first Chelsea. Let's move on straight into that.
Okay, so do we have Nizar Kinsella on the line at the moment? No, okay, we are still trying to get him. But like you were saying, George, about the videos that are coming, you can still send them to our WhatsApp number, which we will drop pretty shortly. The tweets are also coming in on Twitter. That is #JoyDeadlineDay. We also understand that Dortmund playmaker Shinji Kagawa has joined Besiktas on loan until the end of the season. So, first of all, let's get a word from you. we put out our numbers out there 2 days ago or 3 days ago. These are some of the videos you sent regarding Arsenal Football Club.
As an Arsenal fan, I'm not enthused one bit about this transfer season. It's just like your typical Arsene Wenger January transfer, because we had a big problem in defense, and I expected to see us being more aggressive in the market, looking for at least 2 or 1 centre back. And after solving that, we can think about anything else. But like here we are trying to get Denis Suarez. He's good, but I think we should have solved the defensive problem first, and that should have been our aim. If you really want to make top 4, we can't afford not to play Champions League football this season. But hey, maybe Emery has other plans. He's a master in Europa, and maybe he wants us to qualify through. But that's putting all our eggs in one basket. And yeah, so it's been a disappointment. And I also expected to see some midfielders being offloaded this January, and I haven't seen that. I'm not going to mention names.
This January transfer window has gotten a lot of Arsenal fans pretty much agitated, including myself, knowing that the club cannot do any permanent deals. They can only engage in loan deals. But of course, the club is linked to Denis Suarez, who, according to Mundo Deportivo, will move to Arsenal to sign a loan deal till the end of the season with an option to buy for 25 million euros. The club is also linked to Ivan Perisic of Inter Milan. The Croatian international, according to sources, has handed in a transfer request. But of course, it is a tough deal to get done, as Inter want to get money up front. They do not want to engage in any loan deal. So Arsenal really have to hope that something changes on that one. But from my perspective and from any Arsenal fan's perspective, this window has been a very terrible one for us.
Arsenal have been doing quite poorly considering some of the results that we've had, but transfer windows always bring a glimmer of hope. Most of the time it just ends up as rumors for many of us Arsenal fans, but this time we're hoping not. We're hearing about Christopher Nkunku from PSG as well as Perisic. I don't know how well that is going to end up considering some of the things that Inter Milan are saying currently, but we know that Shaw Banker is definitely Denis Suarez, and he's very prospective. The loan deal is almost finalized. I think it's about 2 million, yes, from Barcelona. Emery is somebody who's played and worked with Denis Suarez 2014-2015 for Sevilla in La Liga at that time, that season. And after the Cardiff City victory, the 2-1, Emery stated that we need wingers, and Suarez fits that prescription considering the qualities that he has. We know that he's very composed and keen on the ball, passing, control, crossing, very accurate with those ones. I mean, some weaknesses like every other player would have probably be aerial duels among other things, but centrally and on the left-hand side, we know that he can play those 2 areas good. So I'm hoping that with Aaron Ramsey's departure imminent, Denis Suarez will be the man to foot the bill for us. I'm hoping for a few others, especially some defenders, because of our defensive woes currently, but I'm not sure if that's going to come around. But hopefully, top 4 is still inside for us.
So, Everest the Ghana, and then we had Bill Ishen, and then Aniela, Arsenal fans.
They look really nice, and and they enjoyed every bit of it. But you know what? We just have to go through this right now and just give you some updates before we get into the Arsenal discussion proper. We know that Shinji Kagawa has joined the Besiktas on loan until the end of the season, and the Bundesliga, leaders have definitely giving us this indication out there, and it's really good there for Shinji Kagawa. More of the updates coming up.
Peter Crouch has also joined Burnley on loan. And we also know that at the time we were coming on air, Michi Batshuayi was looking at a loan deal with Crystal Palace. Some reports say it's been confirmed, others say not. Hull City have also signed former West Brom, Aston Villa and Birmingham defender Liam Ridgewell. Remember him on the free transfer following his release from Portland Timbers in the States. What's happening at Leicester, George?
Yeah, more of the news as well. And I thought that Yuri Tielemans was a big one from Monaco. Leicester City have completed that loan signing. What does it really do for them this season is one we're keeping an eye on. Adrian Silva moving in the other direction, also on loan to Monaco at the end of the season.
Right, and talks continue between West Ham and Celta Vigo to try and finalize a summer transfer key summer transfer for striker Maxi Gomez, and also that is the latest. Watford centre-back Bell Wilmot is in the news.
As well, he's joined JoyNews on loan until the end of the season. It's one that we're keeping tabs on as well. There's one player that, I don't know, most of you are probably forgetting about him, Gary, Wilfried Bony.
Yes, his second stint did not work well at Swansea. He has now joined the Qatari side Al Arabi on loan till the end of the season.
And just as you heard, really, from quite a number of Arsenal fans who were very, very worried. We'll get on to priorities for Arsenal shortly. But Stoke City have signed Sam Vokes from Burnley on a 3.5-year deal.
That's a
Makes you
fantastic
smile.
deal.
Fantastic deal. Look at that.
Fantastic deal.
And what? And they haven't stopped. They haven't stopped, have they? You spoke about the Peter Crouch one.
Yes, I've spoken about the Peter.
Okay,
Crouch
so in the end, now we get onto it because Dennis Suarez, we know, is definitely in for Arsenal. You know, they went for Carrasco and Ivan Perisic, but couldn't get a deal over the line because Arsenal wanted loans, and loans. But both selling clubs wanted to sell permanently. Let's just touch on Tottenham Hotspur.
Vincent Janssen, that's a name we've not heard in a long time.
While.
Kosifiaka was mentioning it before we came on air. That, hey, this guy, you know, he looks to be staying.
Yeah.
I mean, he was completely frozen by Pochettino. Spurs want to sell permanently, but a loan deal may still happen. What's happening to Chelsea and the man with Ghanaian roots, Callum Hudson-Odoi?
Yes, Callum Hudson-Odoi. I've been told to pronounce this Odoi. And most of us have gone, Gary.
Odoi. No. He's a son of the soil. He's the son of the soil we are standing on. He's Odoi.
Right, you know what? He's staying put at Chelsea. That's most important for Sarri. And he's been saying all transfer window, he needs a midfielder, but definitely no one coming in. And we know, you know, Michy Batshuayi, that situation right now. Gary, I'm not sure if it's been totally stable. We're hearing that a Premier League side and one indeed in Crystal Palace looking like they want to solve all of this for Michy Batshuayi.
Okay, so Gary Cahill, Danny Drinkwater, all could still leave. So let's go to Oreku Ampofo, the first of the AJ boys.
AJ boys.
The
Course,
AJ boys.
Yes, Gary, we're talking about Arsenal. Arsenal have been in the market and we're looking for loan deals. The loan deals gave them midfielders, and we're still looking for some wonderful wingers to see how they could still score more goals when they've been shipping him quite a lot. Yeah. So we need to get a bit of perspective on what's happening with Arsenal. They want attackers and midfielders. They've got a serious problem in defense. What we discussed it is Oreku Ampofo is standing by now. Oreku, can you take us through what Arsenal's defensive situation has been this season?
Well, thank you very much, George and Gary. Now, before we do come into this season, let's backtrack a little to when Arsene Wenger was still coach of Arsenal. They conceded a lot of goals in his last season, 50 to be particular, and the whole world, very, very bizarre. Everyone knew that Arsenal's biggest problem was with their defense, and they decided to go into the market in the summer, and they got the likes of Leno, Lesteiner, and Socrates. Now, taking a closer look at how they have performed, we start with Leno, and in 18 appearances, he's just managed just 2 clean sheets, not very good for the German keeper. And in 10 appearances, right back who was signed for free, Lesteiner, has also managed just 2. And things do really get funny and interesting when we get to Socrates, and he has managed 16 appearances so far with 0 clean sheets. So definitely their defensive problems have not been answered by their moves last summer. But of course, the call from a lot of fans this window was the fact that they needed a winger. Now the question was why. Now you look at the 20 Premier League teams so far, and Arsenal ranked 18th in terms of crosses. They've attempted 358 crosses, with only 75% of 75 crosses being successful. Now that makes it interesting when you look at the success rate. That's 20.9% of their crosses that are being very successful. And the question to everyone is, when you have strikers like Lacazette and Aubameyang, you definitely need to put in more crosses because these guys can't always score the goals. You look at
Granit Xhaka, being their highest crosser with 19 crosses, doesn't speak very, very well of Arsenal. And they decided to go into the market and get a loan deal for Denis Suarez, who can play as a winger and has worked with Unai Emery. And, you know, he's spoken very highly of him. And maybe he may bring more crosses for this Arsenal side. But back to the defense. And this season, it has been extremely poor for Arsenal. Their level with Tottenham Hotspur in terms of goals scored, they both scored 50, but Arsenal have conceded 33, and that is the 10th worst in the league. Not a record you want to hear with a side that wants to associate itself with the top four. We also look at shots conceded. They've conceded 12.6 shots per game. That seems to be a lot, and of course, they are ranked 10th worst in the league again. And we come to clean sheets, and out of 24 games, they've managed just 4 clean sheets. So the Arsenal backline definitely has been porous. And of course, the question is, will they still go into the market with a few minutes remaining to patch up this backline? George and Gary.
Huge questions there, being asked by Rico Bakari. Now, I think we've got Nizar on. We can get onto our Skype line active.
Yes, for our first update on Chelsea, we spoke about Callum Hudson-Odoi and all that. Nizar Kinsella is the Chelsea correspondent for Goal.com. We appreciate your time. We know it's a busy day for you.
Yeah, it is. Hi, guys. Hope you're all well.
Yeah, we are well.
Yeah,
we are well. How are you? You are the man with all the news.
Yeah, well, it's been a busy transfer window. I think Chelsea's been in the news more than any other team, really. On Goal.com, they've done twice as much web traffic as any other team. Gonzalo Higuain's been the big signing, but it's been a little bit disappointing with incomings into Chelsea. I think that Maurizio Sarri wanted a replacement for Cesc Fabregas. He didn't get one. It looks like Mateo Kovacic and Ethan Ampadu will replace him within the squad. Chelsea wants to promote youth players. And speaking of youth players, Callum Hudson-Odoi, a guy we all know, Bayern Munich's #1 target. Bayern Munich today said he was the only guy they wanted in this transfer window, and Chelsea fought to keep him. They fought off Bayern Munich, but he handed in a transfer request, and Callum Hudson-Odoi wants to leave Chelsea still in the summer. So that transfer's not gone away. It will come back, and yeah, it'll be a huge one. It's very emotive for Chelsea fans because they want Callum Hudson-Odoi to stay. If you've seen this guy play, he's 18 years old and he's one of the true gems of English football, and Chelsea fans all want him to stay. Interesting
indeed. We'll give an opportunity for you on Twitter to ask Nizar Kinsella some of your questions as well, same as Kosifiaka and Raymond Nyamado. But apart from Callum, I mean, Gonzalo Higuain's incoming move meant that Chelsea were going to give that dreaded number 9 jersey to him. Can you confirm to us if indeed he's injured? We saw some reports that he's had a back injury already. Is that true?
It is true. Maurizio Sarri says it's true. He spoke about it after the game, not in his main press conference, but in the media, with the Italian media. He spoke to them and told them it's a back problem, but we don't know how serious it is. We're going to speak to Maurizio again tomorrow, the English media, so we'll try to find out more. But yeah, he was a little bit slow and sluggish in his first 2 starts for Chelsea. Obviously, losing 4-0. I was in Bournemouth. It was freezing cold, and Higuain was really badly off the pace. He barely touched the ball in the box. He didn't have a single shot. He didn't make a key pass, and he got caught offside twice. So he had a really bad game, really. And but there's more to come from him. It's just that Chelsea are under a little bit of pressure now. They've dropped out of the top 4. Arsenal came in on goal difference after that game. So, yeah, Higuain's under pressure to really deliver at Chelsea, but hopefully his back injury is not serious. I don't think it is serious. I think maybe Maurizio Sarri is just making a little bit of an excuse for him so he can take a little bit of pressure off his striker.
Right. I'll give the opportunity to the guys. And my final question is, you've been at the games. You were at the Bournemouth game. You've been at the press conferences. Give us a sense of what the mood around Chelsea is like, particularly in the cold, wintry night at Bournemouth at the Vitality.
Yeah, it's not good, I must admit. This is the first time Chelsea fans ever chanted at Maurizio Sarri. They chanted, "You don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing," and that it doesn't really get much worse than that for a manager. Of course, Sarri substituted Higuain for Giroud, but the fans think that Maurizio Sarri's tactics are a little bit too predictable. He always plays the same formation. He always plays Jorginho as that key passer in midfield. And N'Golo Kante, a lot of people say he's playing out of position. Probably true. He missed a great chance against Bournemouth. So, yeah, Chelsea fans are a bit frustrated. They're not known for their patience. Neither is the club. So, Sarri, I think he needs time to implement his style of football, but he also needs to try to adapt to the Premier League, try to prove himself to Chelsea fans and also the players. A lot of players at Chelsea don't get rotated, so it's hard for him to keep the whole squad happy, and that could be quite tricky, and it could undermine him. I'm a little bit worried that this season's going to end badly for Chelsea, and Maurizio Sarri won't last long if he doesn't get better results. But Chelsea are in a final in February. They're also, just outside the top 4 on goal difference. So we'll see. I think he's got February to prove himself. If he fails, then maybe we'll see him sacked before the end of the season, which will be incredible. And another manager gone from Chelsea.
That question I asked you was from Kobe Jr. Ejiri, tweeting at Senior Junior 477. Don't forget, you can also tweet all your questions to our correspondent and ourselves here at on Twitter. Joy Deadline Day is our hashtag. Nizar, we have a Chelsea fan in the studio who would like to ask you a couple of questions. Kofi, over to you.
Hi, Nizar, how are you?
Great. It's great to hear from you, man.
Fantastic. So you talked about the youth setup within the Chelsea team and wanting to promote youth. Now, we've seen the likes of Ruben Loftus-Cheek come through, the likes of Ethan Ampadu. It's more, for me, a matter of the tactics. How's the perception of Maurizio Sarri's tactics? How is he fitting those players in? Is he persistent with the 4-3-3? What are your thoughts about Jorginho? Is he the right man to be at the tail of that midfield? Is he key enough to the way Chelsea play? Are there any dimensions that can be tweaked to improve the way things are going at Stamford Bridge right about now? And is that going to involve putting in more youth or just changing the tactics?
Well, that's 7 questions. Good luck, Nizar.
Good luck.
That shows that he cares about Chelsea. I like it.
Yeah, he does.
All right.
So yeah, my answer is, I think that Maurizio Sarri is very strict with his tactics. He makes his players change for him. He doesn't change for his players. We've seen with other managers, Antonio Conte, Jose Mourinho, they change for the players that they've got. But Maurizio Sarri says, you must play this way. I believe in my style of football. It is the most important thing. Everything else is secondary to that. So I think that the only thing that Sarri can change is the people, the players involved. I think Mateo Kovacic might be an issue. I don't think Jorginho will change, but I think he could change Mateo Kovacic for Ruben Loftus-Cheek because there's a problem of goal scoring now. Chelsea have only got 13 goals in their last 13 games. That's not good enough for a serious top 6 team. So Ruben Loftus-Cheek has shown that he can score goals. He should come into midfield if he can keep fit. Loftus-Cheek's had a few injuries. Now, the rest of the problem is Eden Hazard needs to link up better with a striker. He needs to link up with Higuain. Both of them need to score goals. Hazard's been the only reliable goal scorer for Chelsea this season, and there needs to be another one. I think that a striker should step up, and Higuain might be that guy. He's 31 years old, but we can see that he can score goals. He did it for Juventus last season. He struggled for Milan, but this is a better team, Chelsea, on paper. So he has no excuses. Sarri has no excuses. He needs to get these guys going. Jorginho, I agree. He's so important to Chelsea because Sarri believes in him, but he's been rubbish, really, to be honest. In a few of the recent games, he's been pretty rubbish. He struggled with the Premier League, the pace of the games. So he needs to improve as well. But I can't see him being dropped, especially because Chelsea let Cesc Fabregas go and they didn't sign a replacement for him. So Jorginho will be in the team for all the big games, and he's the most important player for Sarri in many ways. So to give you a short answer, I think that Loftus-Cheek deserves a chance. I think that maybe Callum Hudson-Odoi could be used a little bit more because Pedro and Willian are struggling. And I think that it's more a change of people rather than tactics that needs to happen at Stamford Bridge.
Well, very, very interesting. We have to now quickly try and pick what the Chelsea fans are saying down here in Ghana. Of course, I know what it's like out in the UK. Selwyn Saki is standing by now. Selwyn, what really has been the reaction of Chelsea fans? Now, monitoring this from yesterday, especially when Chelsea lost to Bournemouth by 4 goals to 0. what really has been going down, Selvin Saki?
Well, for Chelsea fans, I can tell you that they've been very much disappointed with how their dealings have been done this time. But then instead of Chelsea going to the market to try and get some players, there's somebody else actually going to be out. And it's this man that we are going to talk about, Michy Batshuayi. So many links, how many clubs want him? We don't know who wants him. We've heard West Ham, we've heard Spurs. But at the moment, we can confirm to you that Crystal Palace are in pole position to grab this striker for their owner, Steve Parish, has been making some deals in their training grounds at the moment, and it looks like Michy Batshuayi will be heading to Sellers Park in some time. But there are other tweets that they've been talking about, and we have in here Asnick saying, good news for anyone looking for a CB in this final hours of the transfer market. Chelsea have, in fact, told the agent of Christiansen that they are open to send the player to loan of today for 7 million.
Really?
And also, we are also hearing other talking about Abdoulaye Doucouré. We know Abdoulaye Doucouré is a central midfielder for Watford. He's been an interest in a lot of clubs, Manchester United, Spurs, but now Chelsea have also been interested to put in that central defensive role that we've been talking about, whereby Jorginho hasn't been able to put up some tasks as we've expected him to do. We know N'Golo Kante also has been our key player that has been there for seasons so far. Jorginho came in, it hasn't really worked for him, and Chelsea are trying to go into the market for Doucouré. We can also see more Batshuayi talking over there, the Chelsea outscout Michy Batshuayi. Whether he turned down the choice to join West Ham, but we also already confirmed that he might be going to Crystal Palace. So what we have more in here? Still Batshuayi, more news coming in there. We are just going to confirm, George, at the moment it's all about Batshuayi that the Chelsea fans are talking about. But then, for what they need at the moment, they want a defender. But then the club is thinking about Batshuayi being sold out.
Gary, it's good that we still have them here because we have to sort this out. There was a crazy one we had this afternoon. Willian possibly going on a loan to PSG.
Yes, is Nizar on the line?
Nizar, I think you have to explain to us what's happening.
What, with Batshuayi, sorry?
No, with Willian.
No, with Willian.
Willian to PSG.
Willian to PSG.
Oh, yeah, Willian to PSG. I don't think there's ever much in that. I think sometimes you get these transfer rumours that throw you a bit of a curveball, but sometimes they're foul play. I think that Willian is up for negotiation with a new Chelsea contract soon, and we had it with Barcelona with Willian in this transfer window as well, and now we have PSG. But it was never really a goer. There's not an offer that was on the table. I think that Willian probably isn't the right fit for what PSG needs right now. They're obsessed with central midfielders, and Willian was never going to be the option, even after Neymar's injury. So sometimes you get this in the transfer window, and yeah, Willian, for me, it was never a likely potential option.
Well, that's really good then. We've got 9 minutes to the end of the transfer window. Window shuts in exactly 9 minutes. We'll be getting on the deals and be giving you an idea of what is boiling and what could be done. Maybe, Nizar, before you go, you could tell us, so what is likely to be done along the lines of, Chelsea and Arsenal before the window shuts at 11 p.m.?
Yeah, I think that for Arsenal, it's just Denis Suarez, but with Chelsea, it's all about Michy Batshuayi. I don't think there's anything else that can happen unless there's a very, very small deal. Michy Batshuayi's story is very interesting. I'll tell you the story because Drinkwater's staying at Chelsea and Gary Cahill's staying at Chelsea. No clubs can pay their wages. They're too expensive. But with Batshuayi, there is an interesting story behind him. This transfer window, Everton wanted him. Monaco wanted him. Real Betis wanted him. West Ham wanted him. But for all different reasons, they've not been able to sign him. So Monaco were denied an option to sign him because Chelsea wanted to keep him until the last day. Chelsea have held him back because Chelsea wanted to make sure that they got the Gonzalo Higuain deal through. And Batshuayi might have been a replacement for a club like Genoa, who maybe lost a striker. So they kept him just for that reason. Then you've got Everton, too expensive for Everton. Everton are already loaning Kurt Zouma from Chelsea. You can only loan one player in the Premier League from another Premier League club. So he couldn't go there unless Everton bought him, but he was too expensive. West Ham, the wages are too expensive. Real Betis, they couldn't offload their striker Sergio Leon. So now it ends up being Crystal Palace. It's sort of a last resort option. Michy Batshuayi has dropped down his pecking order from club to club to club, and now he's going to end up at Crystal Palace. But it's great news for Crystal Palace because what a signing he will be. Palace needs a striker like this, and it will be great news for them. Batshuayi maybe is a little bit disappointed, but he can come to the Premier League and prove himself again. He keeps needing to prove himself, and his loan at Valencia has been a little bit of a nightmare. So hopefully he goes to Palace and he can prove himself there.
Right, Gary, let's quickly do some of the comments that are coming through on Twitter and then go, for a special video on what's been happening elsewhere, with Chelsea fans talking about this.
Right, in terms of the tweets, Deputy Minister of Energy says that I think this Chelsea team has been the worst in the history of the club. Well, I don't know how that is going. Istanbul Basekshi here has rejected an improved offer for Ghanaian football star Joseph Atama Lawe as well. Benedict Osudankwa gave us an update the other day about Atama Lawe saying that he was going to be moving and so on and so forth. But Suleiman Tari moving is also keeping Twitter really, really buzzing.
So we can go now for the comments that you've sent us. We put this together. Chelsea fans who did, you see your name on the screen. Yes, you see your name on the screen. And that's going to be rolling out in a bit. But just before you do that, Derby have signed Andy King on loan. Wow, from Leicester City until the end of the season.
Right, the Facebook comments.
Okay, let's do that. I can see that. Chelsea don't create, so he will barely get a goal. We're talking about Higuain. And what the chances really for Higuain are, whether he could change the story of Sarri ball. And we've got some interesting ones here. Now, it says, not injustice forbidding number 9 jersey. A bit of superstition there. We've got Alidu Dambo says that if only the coach is removed, already wants Sarri out. Then David Kuduma says, white elephants. Now, these are some harsh comments, Gary, for Higuain. Now, Sarri is not a good coach. Now, Eric Ofusa Sarri says what? The bearded Morata. Chai. Well, so we'll be getting into some more. Gary, we have some more tweets from Chelsea fans or comments from Chelsea fans there.
Yes. Yentumi _2 on Twitter says that Cahill is offered to Juve as a short-term solution, according to Sport Italia. I've also seen that tweet as well. I agree with you guys 100%. When Jorginho is paired with Kante in a 4-2-3-1 formation, they will complement each other. I trust Sarri's style, and I think he will be the right selection for Chelsea as well. Don't forget that the show is also, in addition to being on Facebook Live, being streamed on Facebook on the Joy FM page, the Joy News page, and the Joy Sports page. We also have it on the My Joy Online YouTube stream, and that is also live around the world. George?
A couple of updates coming in as we try to build up to the end of this transfer window. We've got some 3 minutes to go there. And it was interesting to pick all of these up because we know that Everton have rejected a £26.2 million bid there. A PSG bid coming in for Idrissa Gueye. It's been one that has been heavily discussed and we are not too sure. Always giving you an indication that when the transfer window obviously shuts, there will be a little bit of time for you to get things through. That's if you were able to put your deal through. Now, going through what we've got, now we can say perfectly that Michy Batshuayi has agreed the loan, Gary, definitely. Yeah. He's going to be with Crystal Palace, who will be hoping to score some more goals and stay in the Premier League. More coming up in terms of updates. And we know Newcastle have broken their club record there for Almiron. He's going to be in for Newcastle. Rafa Benitez hoping that quite a lot will be done along those lines. Gary, what have you got for us as we pace to the end of this transfer window?
Well, in terms of the deadline day deals, I think you've given the bulk of them as well. Just because we are in the Premier League, if we check the screen, when we started the show, can you remember the number we had for the number of deals in terms of the monetary value? It was just around £210 million. Check this update right now. It's £241.8 million, and that's how quickly things move in the transfer market. So if we sort it out by price, Christian Pulisic, and because Isaac Kinsella is on the line, he might talk about it just a bit before we end. We shut the window. He is still the top acquisition in the Premier League in this transfer window. Borussia Dortmund to Chelsea for £58 million. In terms of the most recent deal, I can sort it out as well. In the Premier League, nothing much has happened. In the Serie A, the most recent deal is Lucas Paqueta, midfielder from Flamengo to Milan, and is the most recent deal. The highest deal in the Serie A is also the same, £31.4 million. That is a midfielder, that's Lucas Paqueta from Flamengo to Milan. Christoph Piatek, who of course scored the 2 goals for Milan came from Genoa to Milan, the second highest acquisition in this transfer window in Italy, £30.9 million. Manolo Gabbiadini, also a forward from Southampton to Sampdoria, £10.8 million. Hamed Junior Traore, a midfielder from Empoli to Fiorentina, completes the top 4. The top 5 is completed in Italy, don't forget, by Juventus player Mehdi Benatia to Al Duhail for £7.2 million. So in League One as well, the biggest deal, Leandro Paredes, £34.7 million, Zenit St. Petersburg to Paris Saint-Germain. Emiliano Sala, who of course had a bit of sad news in the channel when he was not found alive with his pilot. Nantes to Cardiff City, second highest deal in League One, £15 million. Fode Ballo-Touré, the Guinean defender from Lille to Monaco, 9.9. And we have just 1 minute to shut down the window.
30 seconds, you have to say. So we just have to go through what has been happening. It was really, really good for Leicester City. Remember that Yuri Tielemans was able to complete his deal there to Leicester City on loan. Now, Cahill has now turned down offers there from Fulham, Juve and Monaco. Not too sure there. And we already have an insight into this that, his wages are really high. And so some of these turning downs definitely due to the fact that there's no money to pay him out there. Crouch joins Burnley then. And we're talking about Vokes as well moving into Stoke City. Just trying to give you the lineup of what's been happening in the transfer window. Fellaini passes his medical and off he is to China. Hello, China football. There he gets into it. Batshuayi, with just a few seconds, we're telling you that has completed that loan deal and is going into Crystal Palace. Just great stuff that's been happening so far. And I know Ghana did not really miss any bit of this one as well. As we try to wrap it all up, Gary,
30 seconds to count down the transfer window. Let's see the clock ticking down. The window is shut.
Transfer window shut. That means that business will end now. It'll be a good time, Gary, to get into Oreko Ampofo. Yes, and Selwyn Saki. First, Oreko Ampofo, what have you been picking up in these final seconds? Now we know it's all over for the clubs. Oreko Ampofo.
Well, we did know that PSG wanted to get into the market again for another central midfielder after acquiring the services of Leandro Paredes. Now, they went in for Idrissa Gana Gueye of Everton. A late £31.5 million bid was rejected by Everton, and probably because Everton coach Marco Silva threatened to resign if Idrissa Gana Gueye was sold to PSG. Definitely a statement of intent to show that Everton are trying to become a big club and wouldn't be selling. So that's the deals for PSG. They couldn't get an extra central midfielder. So you wonder who would continue in the midfield with Paredes, especially the fact that Verratti would be injured for their Champions League clash.
Very much Oreko Ampofo. Selwyn Saki, maybe we can get onto him right now and find out what he was speaking. He was keeping an eye on those official handles of the various clubs and players. Selwyn, just what did you pick up in the final seconds before the transfer window did shut?
Well, George, not much to be saying about the English Premiership clubs apart from Crystal Palace trying to send in their deal sheets. Now, people are asking what the deal sheet is. The deal sheet is one of the last sheets you can submit to the FA before your deal can be confirmed. Now, if you're able to send it before the mark of the transfer deadline day, then you'll be able to send your deal through. Now, it looks like Crystal Palace have been able to do that. We don't know how they are going to finish the deal at the moment, but none of the clubs are trying to let in anything out at the moment. I checked all their Twitter handles, their Facebook pages and all. Most of the clubs are keeping their mouth shut unless maybe they have a done deal before they are going to bring in any nice presentation of their new players. But at the moment, as you know, they are trying to keep their deal secret and maybe pull up some surprises. The deadline day is shut, but as I said already, if the deal sheet was sent before the deadline day ended, your deal could go through. But then at the moment, we haven't seen any of the clubs saying anything anything. Check Chelsea trying to confirm Batshuayi moving to Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace as well, haven't seen anything with them. Spurs also went there to try and see what Spurs will be doing with their teams. But at the moment, it's saying to say that the only deal that we have to be talking about has to be possibly, hasn't been confirmed yet, but possibly Batshuayi could be a Crystal Palace player. But none of the big clubs have made any bigger announcement, George.
Well, quick. Very, very good one then. And whilst we're dealing with the Chelsea bit, we'll try and wrap this up with Riku Ampofo, who has got some statistics. Because, Gary, largely it's all about whether Higuain can change anything about Sarri. Will he get the goals, or truly the problems of Chelsea are deeper than just a striker? He's got some statistics together. Whilst he does that, we'll be preparing your WhatsApp videos. Chelsea fans, get ready to watch yourself if you did send us that. Riku Ampofo, of course, Gary. So Riku Ampofo, if you can, take us through what you've got in terms of that Chelsea team and why or why not Higuain will solve or not solve any problem.
Well, before we do head into the whole Higuain debate, it's been 6 months since we were introduced to the Sarri ball, and he had two strikers, that's Morata and Olivier Giroud, in his first 6 months. Now, Chelsea did manage to score 40 goals so far, and that is the least by any of the top 6 clubs, and that means the Chelsea are not scoring enough. And what makes it more alarming is the fact that they've managed to score just 13 goals in their last 13 appearances. So definitely the goals are drying up. But let's look at why Gonzalo Higuain was considered as an option, especially in this January window. We look at his game by numbers against Bournemouth, and it wasn't very, very good so far. He played 65 minutes, and he managed 2 offsides, just 29 touches of the ball, 23 passes, 0 shots, and 0 chances created. So definitely not the debut that Gonzalo Higuain wanted to have for the club. But there's this stat on Giroud and Morata that you have to see. Yes, that is the slide I was looking for. Sorry, Arsenal fans, for reminding you about that again. But we go to Chelsea, and why did Gonzalo Higuain come in there? Well, it's because these two guys were not pulling their weight. Alvaro Morata, he managed 5 goals in the Premier League, but the alarming point is the fact that he managed 6.41 in terms of expected goals. Now, expected goals is, very simple. Chances that he's supposed to convert. So according to expected goals, Morata was supposed to have 6.41 goals. So since he has 5, he underperformed by plus 1.41. So Chelsea fans were not pleased. And you look at Olivier Giroud, he managed just a single goal in the Premier League so far. And same problem for him too. His XG is higher than his goals scored. So he is also underperforming. And you even look at the expected goals of these two strikers, and it is very, very low because they're not getting into good scoring positions, especially with the amount of possession that Chelsea are having. So Morata, he was sent out to loan to Atletico Madrid, and Gonzalo Higuain was brought in. And so far, it hasn't been all glittering, but we do have some hope. I say we for the Chelsea fans, because we do remember when Higuain set that record in the Serie A by scoring 36 goals in 35 games. The manager was Mauricio Sarri. So that is some light at the end of the tunnel for Chelsea fans. George and Gary.
Gary, good time now for Chelsea fans to smile. Those will be
videos. So we asked for videos from as many teams as possible. We've seen those of Arsenal involving Aniela, Bill, and Ivana de Ghana from Casablanca, Accra, and University of Ghana, respectively. We'll see Liverpool fans as well. The WhatsApp line will be on your screen, and we'll stream them in real time. Right now, as we are on Chelsea, we will see that. Also coming up on this show, analysis galore from now until 12 midnight. We'll hear from Real Madrid, Barcelona, and the rest of the teams as well. It's not just the Premier League. Just relax. We'll come to your team as well. Now, though, time for the Blues.
Proud supporter of Chelsea Football Club, one of the best teams in the world. With regards to the transfer window this January, it hasn't really been a talking point for Chelsea concerning the ins of the transfer. Yes, we signed 2 very good players, Christian Pulisic, who is set to join at the end of the season from Borussia Dortmund, and also Gonzalo Higuain. Chelsea has very good creative players. But with the addition of Christian Pulisic, not only does he add up to the creative force of the team, but also fills in the shoes of some of the players that are aging, hitting their 30s or already in their 30s. Players like Pedro, Willian, and also with Gonzalo Higuain's experience at the top level, his arrival to the Stamford Bridge brings back this fiery attack the team has longed for since the departure of Diego Costa to Atletico Madrid. These two signings Chelsea made this January is a massive boost for the team, and we hope it brings more trophies to the Stamford Bridge. Blue is the color. Long live Chelsea.
My name is Abdul Hakim. I'm a loyal Chelsea fan and based in Accra here. We all know that in 2017, Chelsea did a lot of justice in the transfer market where they signed players like Alvaro Morata, Bakayoko, Danny Drinkwater, Zappacosta and Antonio Rudiger. But I asked myself, what has been the impact of these players since they've been signed to the club? And we all know that Alvaro Morata has actually left for a loan spell at Atletico Madrid with an option to buy. Zappacosta is currently at the verge of leaving the club. Antonio Rudiger has done marvelously since he was brought to the club. Bakayoko too is at AC Milan on a loan with an option to buy. So I asked myself, who is to blame for all these misfortunes at Chelsea? And I think that the board is to blame for all this. Fast forward, we all know in 2018, when Sarri was appointed the head coach of Chelsea, he had to sign players, and the first person he had to sign was Jorginho, and we all know that Jorginho is a talisman. He is the mastermind behind Sarri ball. He controls everything. He determines how and when the ball should be played at which point in time. But I asked myself, what has been the impact of Jorginho since coming on to join Chelsea? And the impact he has made is, well, we all say that 2,000 passes or a little more beyond 2,000 passes with 0 assists. I asked myself, 0 assists. We had to sell Fabregas to Monaco without getting a replacement for Fabregas.
Right, definitely. There's a lot to come here on the show. Good start from Chelsea fans. We've still got some more in terms of your videos here. But Gary, it's just about time to talk a little bit about Africa. Because, somehow we don't seem to have a synchronized window where players can move at the time, and we all can follow either in Ghana.
Yeah. So what George is essentially trying to say, and before I do that, before I forget, we are refreshed by Papa's Pizza. We've got a horde of pizza before the show and after the show as well. Kosifiaka
was punching the air.
It was punching the air in the studio. So we are refreshed by Papa's Pizza and also the juice guy.
The juice guy, hard guy.
He's brought about 30 bottles of juice. Yeah. If you live around the Kokomlemle enclave, please drop by and join us in the pizza, because myself and then the presenters, the production team, we number just about 15. So there'll be an extra 15 pizzas or something. Charlie, drop by and let's share in the booty.
Except those who have chambers.
Anyway, so on a more serious note, though, if you've ever wondered why the African teams are unable to trade effectively amongst ourselves during the transfer window, people say, Joy FM, why do you spend so much time on the European stuff when sometimes it's the creation of the African teams as well? What do I mean by that? The European teams have a synchronized transfer window. The African teams, what is their story? Let's see the snippet from our partners, the BBC. Right. It will be done in a moment. However, George, essentially, the explanation is simple. Yeah. In all of Europe, among all the EU states, 26 or 27 EU states, the windows are open throughout the January period, and then in August, July, August. When you come to Africa, FIFA, first of all, gives every country in the world 2 transfer windows. Yeah. So you choose the transfer windows that you want, the months that you want. But in Africa, as great as we are, almost every one of the 54 African countries has a different transfer window, which makes it exceedingly difficult to trade amongst ourselves. Let's get the BBC video now. So that was from our partners, the BBC, essentially explaining why Africa is unable to trade. You saw the numbers. In 2017, Africa traded, just $16 million and got in $58 million. Compare that to what Europe got in the same time period, 500 and something million. Sometimes you don't understand. Let me bring in Kosifiaka and Raymond, to give us a sense of what we can do in Africa, because this sounds pretty simple enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, this is because you look at even the African players. How many of them are willing to play for teams on the African continent? A lot of them want to go to mainstream Europe, and there's a lot of talk about clubs not being able to replace players when they move to other African countries. But crucially, if European clubs come calling, they are not bothered about replacement, but they are interested in the sums. So if we want to have a synchronized, transfer system in Africa, which could be close to impossible because of the weather conditions, because of, every country and how their league is structured, it will be very difficult. I still think that, really, we will just keep going on the way we are going on. There's absolutely nothing we can do now because of the interest, of the players. Most of them want to go to Europe. Most of them don't want to play in Africa because they are not going to earn so much, and the weather conditions and everything, it's going to be very difficult. I don't see Africa changing the story.
I don't know. It's difficult. We can't seek to unite on anything.
Well, I think it's the value we put on our football, ideally. Now, in years past, we've seen the likes of Tupoza Mazembe go out there and invest a lot in football, invest a lot in signing players from the continent. And it was a great business model for them as well because they sold their brand across the continent. Now, how hungry are African clubs to sell their brands across the continent? Because we are not hungry enough, there's no synchronization whatsoever. So everybody's playing in a league in a very independent, more or less setting. Yeah. So until there's that unity, until there's that common sense of purpose, I think African football is going to be as stagnated as it is now. We've seen the North Africans try their best. I say try their best because they've been semi-successful in making football attractive and moving players across the board. So the Tunisians, the Algerians, and the Egyptians do that quite often. But until we place a lot of value on our football in Africa, we're going to remain where we are, and we're not going to be synchronized enough to have that kind of mammoth transfer window that we want to see for African teams.
And there's a Barcelona discussion. Thank you, guys. A Barcelona discussion coming up shortly. But Gary, we have, what should I call it? The VIP video just dropped not long ago.
Yes, so we are feeding off your videos to go on to the discussions. We've seen Arsenal lead us into a national discussion. Chelsea videos lead us into a Chelsea discussion as well. And Nizar Kinsella is still with us. Thank you very much. Now, we have a Black Queens player who is based in Iceland. You may recognize her as our lead striker during the Women's African Cup of Nations. She'll lead us into a Spanish giant.
Hi, my name is Samira Suleiman, a true fan of FC Barcelona. I am very happy about the signings we did during this January transfer window, but sincerely was a bit shocked about KP Boateng's move. By looking deep into it, you will see that it's not a bad move at all. Looking at his experience and the kind of money involved, it's not a bad one. Also, I think he will help up front. And most exciting part, he's a Ghanaian, so I'm happy. I wish him well, and I wish my darling club, FC Barcelona, very well. For Dion, I won't talk much about him because he is for the summer.
The Barcelona signing was a rather surprising one. No one was expecting Kelvin Perez-Boateng. I'm an avid supporter of Barcelona. I follow each and every transfer the club makes. When I heard of the rumor, I thought it was just going to stay that a rumor, but he came to the team, and even with that, I was still surprised until I saw him playing against Sevilla in the Copa. The one that we were looking forward to most was a transfer of De Jong. With the whole PSG back and forth, we thought he was coming to stay, but he didn't, and he will be coming in the summer, hopefully. Forza Barca.
So that's Samira Suleiman, Black Queens striker who plays in Iceland in the Icelandic Women's League. Fun fact, they only play games in the evening because that is when it is warm. Yeah. And when it is warm in Iceland, we are talking minus 20 degrees, And we also saw Ivy from Dansoman giving us the Barcelona perspective. Selwyn Saki has the numbers and other very interesting information about Barcelona. But in 10 minutes, at 11:30, we will open the phone lines for you to serenade us with your thoughts on this transfer window. What do you think? What your thoughts are on the top players that have been signed, the flops of your team, and everything in between. The hashtag still is Joy Deadline Day. Selwyn?
Just before Selwyn comes in, though, critically, we know what Barcelona's been about. They've been buying too many players, and we're worried about the plan, whether there is a true plan for Barcelona in terms of buying players and chasing players. They've chased everyone, in fact. The only one they haven't chased is my good friend, Gary Al-Smith, who is a good footballer. He's a good winger. Check him out. Check him out. So, Barcelona, why not? Of course, the window has been shut. That's why you can come for it. So, what have Barcelona been doing in the last 3 transfer windows? Selwyn Saki has got a bit on that, and he will be rolling us in. Selwyn?
Certainly, George. I can't tell you what Barcelona have been doing for the past 3 transfer windows. And let's start from 2016-17, and they signed goalkeeper Jasper Cillessen, who they signed from Ajax, which was £12 million. And at the moment, he's still at the club. They also brought in Samuel Umtiti, who was brought in for the fee of £15 million, which we know at the moment he's there. Now, this interesting player is the left back, Lucas Digne. They signed from PSG, also from €12 million. But at the moment, where is Lucas Digne? He's at Everton. Now, this is where Barcelona have problems with players that they've been able to bring at the club that at the moment, if you look at them, they are not in the club. And these are players that we're looking towards for the future prospects. Lucas Digne is a young left French back, and we know what he could have done. Now, another midfielder is Portuguese André Gomes, 22-year-old from Valencia, 20 million in the 2016-17 transfer window. And at the moment, André Gomes is no more at the club. He's at Everton. Now, we also want to talk about what was the use of André Gomes? What was he supposed to do? He played a number of games, contributed in the team, one of Portugal's bright prospects in midfield, but Barcelona couldn't find a place with him. They signed so many midfielders, and he was never there. Now, we can talk about players like Philip Coutinho also coming into the club. Philip Coutinho, they brought him from Liverpool, which was €45 million. And Philip Coutinho, he's been there, also been talking about rumors whether he's going to stay or not. We still don't know. Now, in this transfer window, they spoke about players. They brought in Langley, who they brought in from Sevilla for 40 million. Hasn't really been playing enough games, but has still been at the club. Jason Murillo is also another player that they brought in. And he also came from Valencia, a defender, €15 million, and still at the club at the moment. But I want to go up there and talk about interesting ones in there from the year up. Still want to go up and see. Yes, now we can freeze in here. Now, from this time is where Barcelona made some interesting deals that we don't know at the moment what they're going to do. Now, this player, Yerry Mina, World Cup sensation, Colombia scored a goal against England. We remember that goal. But where is he at the moment? Is still with Barcelona. He was brought in for €5 million from Palmeiras in Brazil. But then Barcelona couldn't find a place in him as the defender. He went to Everton at the moment. So where's Barcelona trying to put in these players? Now the likes of Nelson Semedo still at the club. Now Paulinho is someone that's made a lot of waves at Barcelona. Paulinho came to asking what's he going to do. He was a failure at Spurs. He came to Barcelona, nicked in some goals. But then after just one season, we saw him go back to China. What was the use of spending €15 million on Paulinho when you knew he wasn't going to be at the club? They brought in Ousmane Dembele, who we also may hear whether he's going or not, but we don't know. Ousmane Dembele is still at the club. But so that's the policy ever since in 2013-2014, Barcelona lost their director of football, Tixi Begistrera and Ferran Soriano to Manchester City. It seems Barcelona's transfer policy has changed. We are not seeing players coming from La Masia, but then they are still signing players all over the place, which is unlike Barcelona, which are just splashing cash everywhere, and the players are not staying at the club for even more than 2 seasons. What is Barcelona? Are they wasting money, or they actually know what they're doing? But in this year, they've been able to bring in Arthur, Clemens, Langley, Jason Murillo. We don't know if they're also going to stay at the club. A big name that came in was Philip Coutinho. We saw that Philip Coutinho was going to be the imminent substitute for Iniesta. But Philip Coutinho, there are likes that he's not been playing some games. They're also saying that he might be leaving the club. We still don't know about that. And Arthur also came in, which has been the competition for Coutinho at the club. And inside on the left forward, they've been finding options in Ousmane Dembele playing in there. And Malcolm also another option. We hear that Malcolm could possibly be leaving in this window, but we don't know. He stayed at the club. But these are the options we are saying. If Barcelona don't need to sign players, they don't just have to go into the market. They bought Malcolm for Roma, and they are thinking about selling him in just 6 months. So, George, this is up to you and your panelists to decide. I've spoken about it, that they've not been able to transfer their policies well to see if they are signing from the La Masia, bringing in youngsters. They are signing in big names with lots of money, but they leave at the end of the season.
Saki, giving us the information we need from Barcelona. The rest of your videos are just loading. We're going to be playing them shortly. Yeah. Raymond Yamado, Elon Fiaka, Gary L. Smith just alongside me as well. So Raymond, yeah, what do you think? Is it the hunger, dire need for a Champions League trophy, or really just taking money and throwing it elsewhere?
Well, George, a lot has happened at Barcelona over the last few years. And if you remember in 2007, when Juan Laporta was unveiling Thierry Henry, it was quite clear that Barcelona were always interested in promoting players from La Masia. Or if they wanted to get talent from outside, it had to be exceptional talent. And that was what saw Thierry Henry come to a club like Barcelona. Over the years, they signed a player like Neymar, exceptional talent, Suarez, exceptional talent. But it got to a point. You look at the number of exceptional players in the world and how equally spread they are across the clubs. It was always going to be very difficult for you to get exceptional players in your squad. Now, Pep Guardiola tried to bring in players from La Masia, which again was very good for Barcelona because he brought the likes of, we all saw Thiago Alcantara and the likes come through. We saw Iniesta, we saw Puyol. We saw most of these players come through from the La Masia. But what actually happened to Barcelona along the way was that the production line was a bit cut off because the quality of players they were getting from La Masia were not the same Busquets, were not the same Pedros, were not the same as the kind of players they were getting. Because you look at players who have left La Masia, Sergi Sampa, he's struggling to nail a club. He's been on loan a couple of times. You look at a player like Munir El Haddadi, he's been on loans over and over again. You look at a player like Sandro Ramirez, we don't even know where he is. You understand? Alex Grimaldo, he's playing at Benfica. Most of these players who left La Masia haven't really been world beaters. They haven't really staked their claim for themselves as some of the best players in the world. And so for La Masia, it's become a dead. La Masia is dead, practically. Barcelona cannot rely on La Masia to produce players. And so they have to go into the transfer market and sign players, young, talented players who they cannot produce at La Masia. So if you look at the transfer policy, a lot has changed again because you look at Zubizarreta coming in with his own style of players. You look at Robert Fernandes also coming with his own crop of players. And now Eric Abidal. But Eric Abidal is trying to get Barcelona back to basics. You look at the players they've signed and their ages. Malcolm, 21. You look at Dembele, 20. You look at Arthur, 21. Lenglet, 23. They are trying to bring in a lot of youngsters and try to groom them for the future. And so you see a lot of experienced players like Messi, like Suarez, still in the fray, trying to nurture these boys into world beaters. Coutinho is still in the team, lots of experience, lots of quality. Rakitic is there, lots of experience. And so I think that the numbers are good. They are bringing in a lot of numbers. But crucially for Barcelona, they want to try and get the best out of the players that they have. They are trying to get the old players to nurture the young ones and then try to groom them for the next 4 to 5 years. And so if these players reach a certain peak, if they reach the peak of their prowess in the next 4 to 5 years, you see Barcelona dominating like Pep Guardiola's Barcelona dominated. That's clearly the plan for Barcelona.
I mean, he's tried very hard to try and get a bit of a dimension on a pattern in what looks so clumsy. Now, if that's the case, like Raymond is saying, we've had too many players on loan as well. Yeri, Mina, Andre Gomez, like we're saying, and Selwyn went to quite a number of players who they bought and yet have not been on the club again. So I love to understand that La Masia is not producing, so they must find Route B. But if you're finding Route B and you can't keep Route B and you're wasting money, what's the point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Raymond and I are always on opposite ends when it comes to certain things. And I mean, this is one of the times. I mean, we look at the Barcelona model over the years, and like he said, they've got La Masia players coming through. As much as they had a lot of La Masia players coming through, a chunk of those La Masia players were 2-3 match wonders. The likes of Christian Tello, the likes of Marc Muniesa, the likes of Marc Bartra. These were not as quality as you'd want to see. So Barcelona still had to go out there and buy. Now let's analyze the quality of players Barcelona bring in. Are they proven players? Are they players that would walk into any top 3 team across Europe? Look at a player like Arthur. Which team is he going to walk into? A player like Carlos Alena. Which team is he going to walk into? A player like Malcolm, who came in from Bordeaux in the Ligue 1. Which team is he going to walk into? A player like Dijon, who's a great talent but hasn't proven himself yet. Which team is he going to walk into? So the quality leaves a lot to be desired. That's how come they brought the likes of Andre Gomez and had to ship them on loan to Everton. Lucas Digne is a very average left back. Nelson Semedo, how different is he from Davide Zappacosta? I mean,
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so it's about the fact that the quality doesn't compare to when we had the likes of Gerard Piqué coming in, the likes of Andreas Iniesta. You know, even if they
Xavi
dipped
and
into the transfer market, they were buying the likes of Thierry Henry. They were buying the likes of David Villa. You know, these players do not measure up to that. These are budding stars with a lot of potential. They are yet to explode. And by pairing them with a lot of the quality players, it's a very dicey situation. You might get them come good, like the likes of Arthur, as we're seeing now, or you might let them see them end up being catastrophes, like the likes of Yerry Mina and Andre Gomez.
Great point there. Alan Fiaka, Raymond Nyamado. Remember, we'll be activating our lines pretty shortly. We've got the last batch of videos to play as well. Gary standing by. Gary, we have a phone call, is it?
Yes, a couple of phone calls already coming in. Some of the teams are feeling left out, George.
Yes,
and it's
I know.
because your teams didn't do any business in this window. You know
so
what I mean?
Liverpool fans don't feel offended.
Don't
Please,
feel
come
offended.
on.
I mean, your team, as you like to say, team not set. So the
Manchester
team is
United.
set. Man United. And speaking of which, Haruna is a Man United fan. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Haruna.
Hello, Gary.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us. You're a Man United fan. We have not focused much on your team because, well, you have not done much. Do you believe that, yes, it was a good decision that the board and Solskjaer did not go into the transfer market?
Yeah, I believe it was the best decision the board and the coach took. Looking at the fact that we have an interim coach, interim backstaff, we are not too sure whether they are staying next season. It would be wrong to get in more players that will suit his style of play and then get rid of players he might not like. And then we'll have the LVG situation where another coach comes and he feels, I would have wanted this player in my team more than the other person. So I think it's a good decision by the board.
Right. Going forward, how have you assessed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure so far, the decision to give Martial a new contract, and would you want deals to be made in the summer?
For Martial, I think it's a great opportunity for both the club and the player. We're looking at some few months back, Mourinho wanted to sell Martial or even swap him for Perisic, which I thought was a very bad decision. So personally, I think it's a good time to be a United fan, considering the fact that Martial has signed a new contract. We are looking forward to see De Gea also extend his contract. And then possibly under Herrera. In the summer, looking at our back, the defense hasn't been great this season. We hopefully will sign more. Interestingly, most of the players that have been linked to United during the days of Mourinho have been quiet this time. We didn't hear the Koulibaly, the Godins, and then the Toby Alderweireld and all that. But we are looking forward to see more business and then transfers done in the summer.
Fantastic. Haruna, speaking for Team Manchester United, we appreciate your time. Also, let me not forget your Facebook group. Give them a shout, please.
Oh, yeah.
Football Fans Forum.
Yeah, Football Fans Forum.
Triple F.
And then on the great happy, we say kudos to them as two presidents and his guys. They are doing a great job.
Okay. Fellaini is something my producer just whispered into my ear. He's going to Shandong Luneng as a player who was the marquee signing to begin the post-Ferguson era. It's quite symbolic that he has begun the post-Mourinho era, or, you know, of all the Ferguson, the David Moyes signings that came in, he's symbolically being the first one going. What do you think about the hatred, in quotes, United fans have given the guy? Because I personally think he's done a great job whenever he's played his heart out for United.
Yeah, Gary, I think Fellaini is everything that was wrong with the post-Fergie era. Personally, I'm happy he's going. And I think his departure is a sign of good times ahead.
I see.
I think Fellaini was everything that was wrong with United. After everything that we spent, if we still relied on Fellaini, long balls to him to head down to square goal, come on. Fellaini was a no-no for me.
Right.
And I'm very happy he's finally leaving.
Haruna, is it Abubakar, sorry?
Yes, Abubakar.
Haruna Abubakar of the Facebook group FFF. Thank you very much. We will also speak about another big team that has been quite underrepresented here. Rosemary from Real Madrid will also be on the line with us. However, coming up, we will speak to Janusz Mikalik. For those of you who watch ESPN Press Pass, he is the staple there. He's agreed to join us and he will speak to us. That will be after we get a batch of videos from the fans that have been sent to us on 0544 652 366. The fan videos now.
One of the greatest club on earth, Real Madrid, and I would like to talk about our transfer dealings. I think so far this January we have been sensible in our spending. We have looked more at future and the present. We have signed for the future in Brahim Diaz for 15 million euros, I think, and we've allowed one of the old guards in Kiko Casilla to leave. And I think that's good business so far. We haven't wasted so much. We are still in line with our policy of building for the future. So I think our transfer deals this winter have been good, and I'll give us a great C. Hala Madrid.
I'm Eric, a Liverpool fan, obviously. Yeah, going into this winter transfer window, I didn't think we needed to sign anyone. I had full belief in the squad. I didn't have any doubts that we could go through the season without even needing the January transfer window. And to have a manager like Jurgen Klopp, who doesn't seem to be interested in the January transfer window at all, I wasn't hoping for even any signing, because if you look at our squad, the only issue where we had to maybe look into the window was when we had Trent, Gomez, Matip and Lovren all out simultaneously. But we've had two good players, two versatile players in Milner and Fabinho who've been able to drop back into defense and help out, and we got some fantastic results within those times. Or we had our defenders out. The only disappointment was in the FA Cup where we couldn't. Probably we should have progressed, but hey, we are league leaders. I don't have any doubts about how the season is going. I'm very confident we'll win in this league, and with Man City dropping points, there's only good news all over for us.
Hi guys, Craig here from the Anfield Agenda with a quick review of Liverpool's January transfer window. Look, it's no secret that this was a quiet window for Liverpool. We never quite expected the club to go and spend the money that they did on Virgil van Dijk in the last January window. It was all really about Liverpool moving players on in this window. We thought perhaps Divock Origi would go on. We wondered what would happen to young players like Ben Woodburn. It seems like he's going to go and join Hull City on loan for the rest of the season. But other than that, it was always going to be quiet. So look, I wish I had more positive news. I wish I had happier things to say. But Liverpool are in a good place right now. Jurgen Klopp and this team are very, very close to greatness. So all in all, I'm not too unhappy with our business. I think we'll strengthen more in the summer. But as for now, we're top of the Premier League. That's good enough with me. Transfers will come and go, but these league titles, that's what it's all about. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, quick thoughts on Manchester City's transfer window. The fact that there's been no ins has been alarming, and the fact that the outs have been mostly youth products is promising for the future. But the fact that we have not got a left back to step in for Mendy, or a backup DM for Fernandinho, who's 33 or 34 at the end of this season, is very surprising. We could feel his influence when he was injured for a small part of the season, and I don't want to experience a longer period with Fernandinho out. So if the club can do anything to get a DM in for the next 5 years, this window, I'll take it.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Those of you watching us on Joy Prime, great good night to you. We've got some more minutes to end, and there's a lot coming up. Of course, more of your phone calls will be here on the show. But guys, let's talk quickly about Real Madrid, because we had quite a number of guys talking about Real Madrid there. They've been also very quiet, surprising. The kind of performances they are churning out in La Liga. I know they are a different animal when it comes to the Champions League, and you don't know what to expect from Real Madrid. But truly, these are not one of those happy days for Real Madrid, and they've been quite a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look at the how the team has progressed over the last year, and look at their managerial situation as well. They've got Solari coming in. The team is relatively a team in transition. With Ronaldo leaving, they had to fill that giant-sized Galactico gaping hole. What did they do? They went to Manchester City. They paid £22 million for a certain Brahim Diaz, a very promising player. I mean, a player we've not seen too much of, but a player that seems to have promise. We saw him run out in the Copa del Rey a couple of times. Still has a lot to learn. I believe he's one for the future. But for this Real Madrid team, I think there's still a lot of building to be done. I believe firmly that they are waiting for the summer to get in a permanent manager. Once they get in a permanent manager, then that manager is able to get his players in. More like the kind of the Manchester United situation that they find themselves in. They don't know what's going to happen in the future. There's a lot of uncertainty around the club, so they are not going to rush into getting players in. They've got a quite solid squad, good players in great positions. The likes of Luka Modric, the likes of Casemiro, even in the midfield. I mean, they've got Llorente. They've got really good players coming up. But most important thing is to wait till the summer. We'll see how they do in the Champions League this season. I doubt they would win it again because they don't have the Zidane factor. But I think it's still a team in transition, and we'll see a lot more from Los Blancos in the summer.
Yeah, more to come from Raven shortly. But let me go to Gary. Gary, we've got a Skype call?
Yes, we have a Skype call. This final hour has been for the teams that we have not been focusing on. We've looked at Manchester United. We will look at Real Madrid momentarily. However, let's go to France. There hasn't been a lot of activity there, especially with PSG. The question is not the what, it is the why. And we have ESPN France correspondent Jonathan Johnson joining us as well. First of all, look at the screen. As we showed you at the top of the show, this was the amount we saw when we introduced the transfer deadline day and the Joy transfer countdown, £81.5 million. Nothing has changed since then. The top transfer is still Leandro Paredes from Zenit St. Petersburg to Paris Saint-Germain for £34.7 million. Why have things been so slow? Jonathan, thank you for your time. We really appreciate you staying up for us.
Hey there, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. So, why have things been slow with PSG?
Well, at the end of the day, PSG's transfer window just wasn't particularly well thought out. I mean, yes, they set out to bring in two midfielders at the beginning of the transfer window. They managed to get one in Leandro Paredes. But to be perfectly honest, PSG wasted a lot of their time. They were focusing on Frenkie de Jong, who wouldn't have joined until the summer. Obviously, we all know how that ended up. De Jong has ended up going to Barcelona, and PSG have been left looking red-faced. They managed to save a little bit of face by bringing in Paredes since, but they failed massively on deadline day. They wanted Idrissa Gueye from Everton. They failed to convince Everton to let him join. And they went for a number of other players as well, notably Luciano Acosta from DC United. They went all the way to the trouble of flying him over from America to France to do a medical, only to decide against making a move. There's mixed reports at the moment as to whether it was based on the price or whether it was Thomas Tuchel not fancying the player, but for whatever reason, PSG didn't get the deal over the line. So it's a massively embarrassing deadline day for PSG.
Is this symptomatic of the mess that PSG have been in since the big money started coming in?
I don't think it's necessarily that, because PSG were relatively well organised, particularly when Leonardo was sporting director. I think it's indicative of the fact that PSG really lack a proper leader and somebody cut out for that role. If anything, I think that Antero Henrique has shown that he's not up to task since he was appointed back in 2017. And before that, obviously, there was the messy situation where you had Olivier Letang, who's now the chairman at Rennes, and Patrick Kluivert, both of them sort of sharing the same powers as assistant sporting director with no actual chief sporting director until the very end, and the director of football. So to be perfectly honest, PSG have not really been clear on who's been calling the shots in terms of transfers for quite some time now.
Right. Now, we are seeing on our screen, Jonathan, right before you go, what is the PSG starting lineup going to look like with Paredes? What kind of player is he?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very exciting prospect to bring into the midfield, particularly when you consider that when Marco Verratti is fit, they'll probably pair up together nicely. It'll be interesting to see if Thomas Tuchel is able to convince PSG to let him use Adrien Rabiot again. You'd have to assume for the moment not, but things could change depending on the situation PSG find themselves in. But once Neymar is back and fully fit, I think we could see PSG lining up in something that looks, something a little bit like a 4-3-3 that can also switch to a 3-4-3. Either way, I think PSG will maintain playing with four very attacking players, the likes of Neymar, Mbappe, Cavani and Di Maria, whenever is possible. But obviously, as we know, Neymar's now out for the next 10 weeks. So, I think Tuchel is going to have to rejig a little bit there. But The arrival of Paredes should allow Drexler to move back into attack. He's been playing as a makeshift midfielder. So it's really a question for Tuchel ahead of the Manchester United match in the Champions League of getting Verratti back to full fitness now that he knows that Neymar is not going to be able to be back in time for the trip to Old Trafford.
You cover PSG week in, week out. In one word, are they going to win the Champions League?
Sometime.
Jonathan Johnson, many thanks for your time and many thanks for staying up for us. I know the time where you are. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for having me on, guys.
Right. So Jonathan Johnson is the France reporter for ESPN. Quick word from my guys in studio as we look to connect with a Real Madrid fan, Rosemary Nunusuga.
Yeah, we have to really do that. You had a good laugh. You think PSG can win?
I actually think they can.
You think the Champions League?
Anything is possible.
You think
FC Porto won it.
Well, I thought you were fine.
Charlie. Look. The guy who covers PSG week in, week out. Charlie, he couldn't answer the question.
And with the injury situation they have,
Neymar
out, Verratti out, Rabiot, I don't know what's happening to him.
John, this is football.
This is football. Anything can happen.
Remember what I said about Wolves at the beginning of the season?
Yes.
They're sitting 8th.
They're sitting
in the Premier League.
No,
this is football.
No, but George, United look like Di Mattio's Chelsea.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take you quickly to Italy. Let's try and settle a few things in Italy. I was just talking about AC Milan, and they are trying. They're huffing and puffing. It's still not working. Now, not too sure what Piatek is going to really do.
Well, interestingly, he's got goals about him, and we saw him play in the Coppa Italia. He's hit the ground running already. That tells you that there was something Gonzalo Higuain wasn't doing at AC Milan. But that notwithstanding, I still see this AC Milan team under Gattuso as work in progress. You look at the kind of players they have. You look at the number of changes they had to do in the course of the season, how he had to tweak his team, Frank Kessie and the likes, the Ramanolis of this world. Some of these players have had to, struggle for consistency and form. And that has been the problem of AC Milan. But they seem to be getting the results. They seem to be getting the job done in the last, 6 to 7 matches. And I think that gradually they are getting there. They are currently in top 4 places in the Italian Serie A. And bringing in this striker, at a point in time, he was leading the goal scorers chart. And that should tell you that this is one striker playing in a good team. Definitely, you should get a lot of goals for you. Playing in a small team, he was able to get the goals. Coming to a big club like AC Milan, where he's going to get the supply, where he's going to get the services. Definitely, we can expect AC Milan to, finally start getting to the top.
And of course, AC Milan, we're hoping that they can move on and start winning some trophies again and doing stuff, because Inter Milan are probably lucky. It's great to have Evan Perisic still on the side after handing in a transfer request. And of course, even Icardi is on the books of quite a number of clubs. Hopefully, they are able to save it and keep it out there. Let's get into Germany and talk about Bayern Munich. It's been a while. It's not been smooth sailing. Absolutely topsy-turvy for them this season. It looks like they are all of a sudden discovering the strength they wanted. Callum Hudson-Odoi, it didn't work out for them. What you make up of Bayern Munich?
Yeah, definitely. I was listening to Nico Kovac today, and he was very excited about his squad. Even though we saw the likes of Timo Werner leave the team. Sandro Wagner. I always confused the two. Timo Werner is a Leipzig guy. So Sandro Wagner leaving the team, and he was excited because he said, "Listen, the only player we wanted to sign this transfer window was Callum Hudson-Odoi. He was one for the future, and we've got the likes of Arjen Robben and Ribéry back in training. Serge Gnabry has been amazing for the team so far, and they've got the likes of Thiago Alcantara coming through. And so Bayern Munich seem to be discovering their form. I mean, he was a new coach. He had to deal with new egos. He had to tweak his tactics. Because across the season, we've seen Bayern Munich play with about 4 different systems. They experimented with the 4-2-3-1, the 4-3-3. They experimented with the midfield diamond. They even experimented playing 3-back. They experimented playing Serge Gnabry as a striker. And now I think he has discovered his real formation that works for him, which is the ideal 4-3-3, with Robben and Ribéry still playing wide, but not having any defensive responsibility because of the kind of midfielders he plays. So he said he's got a big squad now, and it's a squad that's worthy enough to challenge for the Bundesliga. They are only 6 points behind Borussia Dortmund. Considering the kind of season they've had, I think that's good enough because they can still catch up with them. They need to just pick up that level of consistency. And I believe once they discover that streak of consistency, they would give Borussia Dortmund a massive, massive run for their money in the Bundesliga.
And it will be interesting to find out what Bayern Munich do in the remainder of the season. We'll still be activating our phone lines for you to call in pretty shortly. A quick reminder that the transfer countdown show, guys, is probably brought to you by the kind courtesy of Papa's Pizza. They are refreshing us, and the Juice Guy, they're making us really good, and there's more to come up here on the show.
And the juice is amazing, by the way. I had a drink before coming in.
Just you know, to go around this, we're making the point about Borussia Dortmund. Let me just go to Oreko Ampofo on Borussia Dortmund. Now that we've spoken about Bayern Munich, they're looking strong, and quite a number of fans are looking up to seeing them do very well in the UEFA Champions League. They've got an interesting tie out there. Do you think Dortmund are good enough to go all the way? Okay, well, difficult to get over Kwampo, but it's fine. I just put the same question to you on Dortmund. Yeah.
Absolutely. You look at how they are playing, and you can actually tell that this is a rejuvenated side. Lots of young players in the team, lots of energy, lots of pace, lots of talent on display. Marco Reus and the likes coming with a lot of experience. Pulisic, you know, I'm actually surprised that Pulisic, a player who's been touted as, you know, one of the best players, you know, to come out of USA, you know, now playing in Germany, is on his way to Chelsea, and he's even sitting on the bench. He's only, you know, he's not even getting playing time, despite the quality that he oozes. I think that, you know, Dortmund have come of age. Paco Alcácer is doing a great job for them, and I see this Dortmund team as one of the teams that has a lot of. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see Bayern Munich catching up with them. They play with a lot of confidence, and they are just difficult to beat. And the number of goals they score in games, they are just exciting on the eye. They are pleasing on the eye, attacking football, and it's difficult to beat teams that go all out to play attacking football. So I see this Dortmund team as, and the coach has done a fantastic job with this team.
I would disagree with you.
Why would you disagree with him?
You see, it's a very young team, okay? And that's going to be the undoing at the end of the season.
You think so?
I believe there isn't enough experience. I mean, look at that back four. You know, look at the likes of Jadon Sancho. You know, these guys are good players, very energetic. But I believe the experience in that Bayern Munich team would get them across the line. We'll talk about this again at the end of the season.
We'll do. Well, Gary joins us. Gary, we've got some. What we got for what's that?
So I've been leaving you for the last 5 minutes to get you guys to, you know, talk about what Jonathan Johnson was talking about. Now let's go to the United States to speak to yet another ESPN big week. For those of you who watch Press Passes, Janusz Mikalik, the favorite. Thank you very much for joining us, Janusz. Can you hear me, Janusz?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. So we were talking about the Serie A here just before we moved into this Dortmund discussion in Germany. But could you give us an overview of what you saw in terms of the transfer window in the Serie A? And just to help you, Janusz, we've got our Excel sheet here, our advanced Excel sheet here, where we can see on it that 120.6 million pounds worth of players was sold, with Lucas Paqueta from Flamengo to Milan being the biggest of the deals. Christoph Piatek, who has scored a brace, is second. Gabbiadini, Hamed Junior Traore, and Mehdi Benatia were the top five. Your thoughts on the Serie A transfer window this time?
Well, you just said it right there. I mean, the total sum is basically Milan buying two players, right? I mean, that's all we're talking about. The biggest thing that I got from it is that nobody was doing any business. I mean, almost none. And the biggest surprise is that I think with the race that we have in Italy, at least for the Champions League spot, you can go all the way to 10th place with Torino. You could almost even push it, to Sassuolo and Parma, right, as possibilities for that fourth spot. So in some way, the biggest story is that teams that needed strengthening in some areas, and I'm talking about the big clubs, maybe not Juve necessarily, although I'm sure you guys have talked about the fact that at center back they have some issues, don't they? Because Benatia left, Chiellini and Bonucci being out as well, and Rugani being hot and cold. I suppose Inter. I think they needed some players. Roma certainly did, and maybe Sampdoria got a deal with. I think Sao came over, which is not that he's a big scorer, but I think he's an experienced player. So Lazio. I mean, here's another team. I didn't see the game today because I was out, but I know in Coppa Italia, Lazio got through. But again, it was Immobile, right? If Immobile doesn't score, who else scores? And when I'm looking at their statistics, I mean, certainly they needed strengthening. Fiorentina are okay, I suppose, because they didn't lose players, right? When I look at Atalanta and Fiorentina, I think they were successful because they kept the best players. So that's a little bit in a nutshell. If you want to talk specifically, I'll be happy to.
Hello, Janos?
Hello, did you hear me?
Yes, we got all that. So, in a nutshell, do you think that they are going to do more business in the summer very quickly?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think, there's going to be a lot of changes because Juventus will win again once again. They'll have to turn over. I suspect there's going to be some coaching changes. So, I think the Italian teams will do some business as always.
Excellent. Thank you very much. You, just like Jonathan Johnson, who just joined us, was on a very tight schedule but agreed to be with us. We appreciate your time, Janos.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, all the best. So Janis Mikalik is a reporter extraordinaire and a presenter for ESPN Press Pass. And I'd like to pass the ball on to you at home. Time now for your phone calls, George, right?
Yeah, just as you had me. We got some bonus time. Oh, take it easy. Yes, I know. 0302 211 691 or 692. 0302 211 691 692. Let's hear from you on the phone lines now. Charlie, you stay waiting.
We've discussed a lot today. So who is our first caller?
Ben.
George?
Ben, how are you doing?
Great, Gary.
Okay. That's George.
Okay. That's George. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
No problems.
It's all right.
It's all GG, isn't it?
It's all GG.
Ben, let's hear from you. What's up?
Yes, as a typical and loyal Arsenal fan, I'm very disappointed in Unai Emery. Reason is, right from day one, when he took over, he assessed the team, went through preseason with them, and I guess he should have been able to identify our weaknesses and strengths. But it appears that our defense is shambolic. And right from day one, he hasn't done anything about that. In fact, I was hoping that he would use this winter window to fix the defense. You had a went in for Dennis Suarez. For God's sake, we have a lot of players. I'm not saying they are the best, but we have a lot of players in midfield.
Yeah.
Rob Holding is down there for until the end of the season. He was recently joined by Hector Bellerin. Two of our fantastic young guys are out till the end of January. And you did not even bring in just one defender to cover up for the shortages. We are left with Lichtsteiner, who played all the football in him at Juventus. Socrates, 30-something. For God's sake, as a coach, you should have seen that and faced it. Now we have a very thin defense. You have to go through the season with these players. I'm shocked that he did not do anything. But I'm only hoping and praying that if we concede one, we score two, so that we
Ben.
So next caller, Selwyn, who do we have on the line?
We have Blanco from Wa.
Blanco, what's up?
What's going on?
Come on.
Well, the dial tone is what's going on. So Blanco from Wa, please call back. What's the number again?
0302 211 691 or 692. Hey, who's on?
Philemon. Hello, Philemon.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for reaching us here on the Joy Deadline Day. Hopefully, you have enjoyed the show.
Oh, yeah. I'm really enjoying it. But I'd like to know, what is Pochettino doing about our team?
I don't think it's about Pochettino. It's about the man who pays Pochettino's salary.
That levy, I think his name has something to do with money. Because I see nothing that the team is fighting for. We lose out from midfield and defense, and nothing. We have players in the market, but yet I see nothing. That man has to do something. That man has to do something. All right, bye.
Isaac.
Yes, this is Isaac Takrade.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Hopefully. Not our final caller.
Zico.
Yeah.
What's up, Zico? Go ahead. Hey, Zico, you know you like fans, eh?
Isaac, you're on. This is your moment.
We'll give you fans.
Yeah, I was very excited when I heard that Barcelona signed Kevin Prince Boateng.
Okay.
And we know we didn't do much, but hoping the next transfer window we are going to do much. Thank you.
All right. What's David saying?
The time is 12 o'clock.
Oh my
It's
God.
midnight. It's Friday morning. And we advertise. What time did we advertise for the show, George?
We said 10 p.m. to 12 midnight. So,
you can see us twiddling our phones and looking at the last bit of messages that you've sent. But our director tells us that time flies when you're having fun. So, George?
Well, Gary, let me do this because we've got a tall list of guys who really made it to work out for. I mean, the head of sound and everybody at sound, Amani, you know, everybody, George. They made sure this was working out for us. Sound department, engineering have been absolutely superb. Gary, we went through it. David, everyone, Kofi, they made it work out for us. Our cameramen have been so superb. Yes, Dudu, Modestus, the man in charge. Every one of you made it work out. The sets, guys, look, they made this work out, coming in and making us feel really comfortable. The Joy Sports team, Gary, what can we say?
All of them, Baba Tando, Nathaniel Ato, Benedicto Usudankwa, Ridwan Ibrahim Asante.
Our boss, Sami Yerinchi.
Yeah, Asari Bediakun.
Asari Bediakun.
Yeah. Papa Ernesto Geladino.
Papa Ernesto Geladino. You know, we have to talk about the directors.
The directors.
David, it's been he's also a fantastic
and all
guy.
of them. I mean, if we have just a minute, all the guys can just come on stage while we say our final goodbyes. Kosi and Raymond, thank you for joining us as well.
So much.
So the camera guys, Dodu, if you want to come on air, let's see all of you guys. Come on, you guys. Yeah,
Gary,
come on air. Yeah.
Gary, yeah, but of course, we don't often do this, but you know, Gary, you know what? Big thumbs up to the AJ boys. They've done fantastic.
The AJ boys.
Oreku Ampofo and Sawensaki. It was really great to have them alongside. Yeah. So what? La Masia of Joy Sports.
La Masia of Joy Sports.
Hey, and to JoyNews and Joy Business, because Joy Business gave us the space. JoyNews, thank you very much to Elvis Kwashi and everyone.
Joy Prime.
Joy Prime. All of you on Joy Prime.
Nana Easy.
Thank you so much for making this work out.
Joy
and did we forget Moses Yabwa? He was on the bridge down on Joy 99.7 FM. Epson. Yeah, we were trending.
We were trending #1 in Ghana, man.
Zufika. Yo, there are some names, if you forget, you are in trouble. Zufika, Spiky. I hope we did everything, of course.
We didn't forget anybody.
And the MGO forces, they know what we're talking about.
Right.
So, from the team, Gary.
My name is Gary Al Smith.
I'm George Adu Jr.
Bye for now. We'll see you in August.